Hi there, guys. God bless you, and thank you for joining us. I'll say it again, just in case they want to mute me out. God bless you, you and your family, guys. Thank you for joining us. Going to be looking at an article coming out from expose.com, and yes, Dr. Vernon Coleman gets his thing going on down here. So looking forward to covering this. You may have you may have observed that I threw a few sort of like video links in the sort of like live chat there for you. I think there's about 10 or 11 there, just to sort of like reinforce our point when it comes to looking at these vaccines. Guys, we're not going to stay silent about these issues. These are the things that are still being rolled out to children. These are the things that are still being driven, to the elderly and to the frail with the flu jabs and all of the marketing and all of the deals that are being made between these pharmaceutical companies and governments. Only have to, know recently that Trump and Albert Bourla from Pfizer met under the pretext of sort of like lowering the sort of like pharmaceutical and drug companies, price on the vaccines. Really, he should have been locked up, etc. So going to be looking at this from a few angles. Like we say, good old Vernon Coleman is going to sort of like see us over the line, but want to bring to your attention just a few things as well, like we usually do here, where we just bring in some headlines to give you a little bit of a refresh as to some developments pertaining to the vaccines and COVID, etc., and some of the monstrosities that have been going on at least over the last sort of like 12 months as well. Hoping, guys, you've been able to see our read all about it, and you can read all about it, and the extra as well. 30 time headlines there for you to get your laughing gear in and around. And so going to be looking at a little bit of a refresh when it comes to the vaccine. Let's not forget, guys, God bless you, thank you for being here. Let's not forget what the CDC turned around and says pertaining to the issuing of a public warning. Don't get the COVID vaccine, it's not safe. Okay, and then so you see sort of like, Keir Starmer allowing Johnson & Johnson to have like £1 billion sort of like pounds, pharmaceutical factory being built here. The deals that are made with Pfizer and Albert Bourla, etc. These guys that will turn around like the RFKs and say, oh yeah, we're going to be getting you. No, not a chance. Anthony Fauci still walks free. Continuing. So if that's not enough, by the actual, CDC's own words saying that these vaccines are not safe, can we have our 7 channels back, please? CDC launches official investigation into COVID vaccine deaths. Oh, there's not a connection there at all, is there? Interestingly, Norway's 54-year-old COVID vaccine rollout SAR dies suddenly. Seen quite a lot of that, haven't we? YouTubers and other sort of like famous personalities, sportsmen and women that are literally dropping down. No one really ever able to join the dots. However, when it comes to whistleblowing, fact checking, or just being downright busted, here you go. Johnson & Johnson lead scientist confesses COVID vaccine was not safe and effective. Interestingly, I don't know if I've got it on my iPad. I don't know if I have. It's really annoying if I haven't. Let me have a little look. No, it's my other iPad that I have. I haven't got that. But I have a video there, literally, of actually. Why don't we just take like a 1-second break, if that's all right? Actually, it's worth me getting up and going and getting that particular iPad and just putting it up there for you to have a little look-see at while we're talking about that. Forgive me. I thought I had it on this particular one, but I've got it on the next one. So bear with me. Forgive me. All right, then. Sorry. But it's going to be worth it. All right. It's just going to be worth it. And I'm hoping it's here. Let me have a little look, see what's going on. Whoa. It's just It's just updating. I haven't used this one for so long. It's like, good grief, updating. Sorry, guys. It's going to be worth you seeing this, actually. It really is, if you can get itself together a little bit more. Okay. Here we go. Right, I think we're up to date now. That wasn't painful at all, was it? Okay. Thank you for bearing with me. It is going to be worth it. Just hang on tight there now. So I sent it a couple of days ago, what I wanted to show you guys. Here you go. Okay. Where's my diddly dodo? There you go. We're going to have to start that from the beginning. Here we go. Hope you can see it. Oh, you're joking. There we go. Sorry, we're going to start this again. This is what I mean when I can't screen record some of these things. I'm going to have to do it like that. Don't know why I've got a little bit of a glare. Okay, but it starts out. Let's see if I can get it in first of all. Can you zoom in? I've got an angle it. Okay, it's not very helpful color shade it. Let's go for it. Ooh. Okay, you probably might. I don't know if you actually ended up seeing any of that. Okay, but however, in my defense, in at least one of those 11 videos I put up, I put it unedited. It's basically the entirety of it. All starts up as you know, sort of like, oh, these vaccines are 100% effective and they're all good, and then oh no, it drops down to 98, 90, down to like nil point, and absolutely being banned and just outlawed. Sorry about that, but I thought it was quite interesting. I hope you might have got a little bit of something of what we're trying to capture and share there when we talk about Johnson & Johnson lead scientist confesses that the vaccine was not safe and effective. All right, so when they're saying in the mainstream media and they're pushing all of these sort of like things across, literally Johnson & Johnson also getting fined, you know, sort of like £44,000 for putting on to X, you know, advertisements trying to give away teddy bears to children if they got vaccines, or silly people that were stupid enough to roll up their sleeves and take a vaccine from a stranger in a car park just for a donut. Yes, here in stunning undercover footage released by James O'Keefe, Johnson & Johnson lead regulatory scientist Joshua Rise admits that vaccine skeptics have been saying from day one the COVID-19 vaccines were rushed, under-researched, and never proven to be safe. When we're talking about self-assembly nanotechnology and sterilizing people, supercharged cancers and sudden adult deaths, all right, connecting everybody up to the internet body and the internet of things, and the weaponizing of that against you, you know, manipulation and the coercion and the deviance pertaining to this entire thing. People just did so freely, didn't they? In other news relating to this, significant safety concerns raised over trial of sprayable COVID vaccines. Well, it doesn't really matter, does it? Because we can put that in aerovax form and vaccinate you without your consent, or we'll use sort of like, mosquitoes to be our syringes. So going to take some of these idiots and some of these monsters to start putting into their chemtrails and flyovers some really deadly poisons to kill us all off. Pfizer scientist confesses COVID vaccine testing was sabotaged before 2020. Here you go. The FDA confirms that COVID vaccines behind global surge in cardiac arrests. After years of dismissing public concerns as conspiracy theories, the FDA has now acknowledged a disturbing link between mRNA COVID-19 vaccines and a global spike in cardiac arrests, validating what critics and independent doctors have been saying for years. This is why we're speaking out against these things, guys. People are still dying. People are still taking that. Just imagine if there was someone on here who was like, oh, you know what? I was just about to go and get one of those bad boys. And all of a sudden I watched some of those videos that you put up in the link. And I actually saw some science, and I heard and heard things that I've never heard before. Actually, for me, I'm not going to be taking that anymore. And imagine a whole bloodline, a whole family line of people that was spared and saved from having all of these, sort of adverse reactions. As we've been saying, haven't we, relating to what the Lord God will do when everyone wants to take the mark of the beast, which isn't this vaccine, but the actual sort of like mark of the beast that's sort of like sitting down somewhere gathering dust. Do you know what I mean? When they take that sort of like mark of the beast, the boils and the sores that they will be given, that will be God's own adverse reaction. Just find it really interesting. Here, Czech government declares fertility crisis links to COVID vaccines. You wonder why they ended up taking down the Georgia Guidestones, because it was like mission accomplished. 5.65 billion of people rolled up their sleeves. Here, official data. Singapore excess death rate surged 50% following COVID vaccine rollouts. And then you get this sort of like, oscillating to and froing. President Trump announces imminent nationwide ban on all COVID vaccines. Oh, yeah, but he'll get a nice little, reduction when it comes to Albert Bourla, won't he? Continuing, official documents reveal COVID vaccine has killed more Americans. Let me say that again. COVID vaccines have killed more Americans than World War I, World War II, and Vietnam War combined. Senate report exposes criminal COVID vaccine cover-up, demands accountability from top health officials. But they don't ever get sort of like held to account, do they? No, they don't. It's always the promise. It's always the case of saying, oh, we're going to go after you and you're going to go after us and we're going to do this and we're going to set up this committee, all to fob us off and deceive us even further. These guys should be literally at the end of a rope when it comes to a Nuremberg trial for just genocide, for the murdering of its own populace, for the lying and the deceiving and the deceptions that they were deceived by pharmacia. HMS imposes ban on high-risk COVID vaccines for children and pregnant women. Bill Gates saying, sorry, but 72 vaccines is not enough for children. We've got to start now going into the womb. We keep saying it here on our channel. God did not design this earth and people so defectively that he required us to save it for a start, this planet, and, made such a shoddy job of his own creation that we needed Albert Bourla and Pfizer and Johnson & Johnson and AstraZeneca to save the day. Scientists uncover alarming link between COVID vaccines and early onset dementia. This is also a case where they're saying these boosters take like 10 years off your life. And it's really interesting, isn't it? It's just like, they have this sort of like slow reveal eventually, doesn't it? But this is what's really interesting. You get platforms like YouTube that want to take away all of our channels, all 7 of them that we've lost. So we're so highly shadow banned that they steal our lives because we're speaking too many truths. But these guys and this platform wants to reward lying, deceiving, and the narrative. So when you get the FDA and the CDC turn around and saying that these things are not safe and they're deadly, platforms like social media ought to listen, but they don't. They would rather listen to the World Health Organization, unelected individuals. And then you've got Tedros Ghebreyesus, the head of the World Health Organization, who isn't even a doctor. Let alone do we get, when it comes to the Bill and Melinda Gates and sort of like, his sort of like vaccines. Again, Bill Gates is not a doctor, but these are the guys that they want to put their hope and their faith and their trust in. We have a moral responsibility to speak out against these vaccines because they're not going away. This promise of, oh, we'll bring these people to justice, Trump was saying, and everybody else saying, oh, yeah, that's fine, we're going to stop them because they're ineffective and whatnot. But no one's been held to account for it. It's the same thing they're doing with the Epstein, the same thing they're doing with all the paedophilia and all of the other sort of like stuffs relating to fraud. They say so much, but they promise and give and deliver so very little. Bombshell study finds carcinogenic HIV sequences in vaccines. Mayhar's new chief medical advisor calls for nationwide ban on mRNA COVID vaccines. German prosecutors warn Bill Gates prisoner awaits as cancer-causing DNA found in the COVID vaccines. And this is why it's like all, these police that want to police our sort of like tweets and not our streets. What those guys really need to do is go over to any general practitioner, any doctor's surgery, go and take a random sampling of, let's just say, a dozen or so sort of like, vaccine vials, warm them up to body temperature, stick them underneath a microscope, and then sort of like get an independent scientist to explain, dummy style, what's actually in them. But they don't want to be doing that, do they? Pfizer-gate. Court rules on von der Leyen's secret COVID vaccine deal messages. Again, what we're saying, a little bit of scratch here. The ruling states that the European Commission acted improperly by refusing to release communications with Pfizer to the media. And this is what you get, the European leader, some guy called Christian. You remember that guy? And he's got two pieces of paper holding up. And he's just like, I can't get into this own building and I'm an MP of the European, Parliament. I can't get in because I don't have the right paperwork. And then you've turned around and released, after literally sort of like all of these freedom of information requests and demands and court subpoenas and everything, you're then releasing this documentation about these vaccines. And every single one of them was completely and utterly redacted. It was just like black, everything was blacked over. And he was turning around and saying, if you've ever seen the clip, if not, you can find it on our Rumble channel. He was turning around and saying, is this transparency? Is this transparency? But people want to put their blind hope and their faith and their trust into these pharmaceutical companies. And whilst we're there, I just want to take us to something that I prepared earlier that actually fits really well with what I was going to be saying. Okay, this is what the KGB, let's just talk about those guys for a moment, realized in the 1960s. The KGB did some fascinating psychological experiments, and this is what 5.65 billion people fell for. All right, check this out. They learned that if you bombard human subjects with fear messaging non-stop, in 2 months or less, most of the subjects are completely brainwashed to believe the false message, to the point that no amount of clear information they are shown to the contrary can change their minds. So when I'm having a conversation, and I've shared it with you guys already, haven't I? With my sort of like, my dear sister, all right? Very, 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 very clever girl, all right? She really is. Oxford Don the lot. Now she's a judge, all right? And I was just flippantly turning around, all right, and saying to her, oh, did you see when Macron was, on this train, and then you got the German Chancellor to his sort of like left, and then in comes Starmer, who sits on his right, and then all of a sudden Macron realizes that there's a camera crew with Starmer, so he's sort of, pushes away the bag of cocaine, and then the German Chancellor also removes the sort of like spoon as well, as they probably divided that up between them. And I was just like laughing about it because my brother-in-law's an ex you know, sort of like, you know, addicts, and run one of the biggest drug rehabs in this country, and was the chief executive officer of that. He knows everything that you can possibly do about drugs, because he had a whole lifetime as being a heroin user and addict, and God got a hold of him and changed him. And so, you know, they dismissed what I had to say just about that. It was like, no, it can't be happening. And I was saying to my sister, just take a second here right now on a professional basis. You have dismissed me, your brother, who isn't crazy, who isn't insane, all right, without even seeing the evidence of the video. And you've dismissed it in a prejudgmental way. Wow. What does that say about your arrogance? I'm sorry to say it, and your presumption. And then my brother-in-law and I was sat in the back of the car, and it was like, I just deal with faction. I'm just rational. Okay, so I'm being irrational, mate. If I'd shown you that flipping video, you would have been like, whoa, yeah, that's a bag of Charlie. Do you know what I mean? That's a bag of Charlie. And he's probably pointed out more than what I would have seen, but they just didn't want to see it, because people don't want to be woken up. They don't want to be told that. They want to go trusted in the BBC and CNN and Fox. They want to be drinking from those troughs. And that's going to be the entirety of their knowledge base. They want to be trusting old, you know, GP down the road. He's probably getting hundreds and hundreds of pounds, which we're going to be exploring in a moment with Dr. Vernon Coleman's take on that as a medical doctor, and why these doctors never spoke out, because they were getting so many cash incentives. Their morality is not there. You've got all these Joseph Mengeles, you know, literally forced jabbing, not being honest or transparent about its content. And you start mentioning, oh no, it's got aborted baby fetuses in it, you'll get shut down. This is sterilizing men so that they fire blanks, destroying women's ovaries and their eggs and their chances of being mothers. I've got a problem with that. Have you? You might be thinking, I've had my family, it's all right. Really? So, okay, fair enough. Maybe you escaped that one. What about the sudden adult cancers? What about the you know, heart attacks? My dad ended up having a stroke because of it. Did not ever make the connection. And then my sister, who took the jab, was also really, really ill. And through prayer, she overcame that. But it's just like, good grief, what's it going to take for people to start waking up about this and start speaking out against this evil? Because it's not just in the vaccine form that this is happening, guys. It's being weaponized against you in the food supply, in the water, being sprayed overhead. This is why we take the risk as a channel, because this is what God says to me personally. Dan, I want you to speak on this. I want you to stand up against this evil. Don't be avoidant. And what we were saying yesterday about actually, yeah, my peers in the wall in the church might not be bowing down to the Antichrist, the beast, just yet. But boy, are they bowing down to the beast system. Boy, are they banding down and puckering up when it comes to rules and guidelines. And they're not speaking out about that. So if anyone here is a young mother or a child or anything of that sort, and they're thinking of getting these vaccines, please do see our 10 videos that I put in the live chat before you even go anywhere near your doctor. Please listen to actual doctors speak out about this, as opposed to taking your sort of like, you know, health and Russian rouletting yourself with this, you know, vaccine and their so-called science. Because science actually is asking questions. Science actually is critical analysis, pulling it apart, seeing if it's ethically viable, and putting it all through rigorous amounts of testing, let alone longitudinal testing, let alone not taking away, you know, the insurance liability so you can't sue them for killing you or maiming you. And then what? Yeah, we'll just publish all of those with Freedom of Information Acts in the next 75 years. Oh, yeah, they ain't got nothing to hide at all, have they? It was a precursor and an IQ test for the mark of the beast, this whole rollout, this whole, you know, pandemic. And you got all these individuals like, you know, Nazi Ursula von der Leyen making all these deals, hiding all these emails. Let's continue with this. And this is exactly it over here in the UK. It's like, you know, talk about putting your faith into an institution. First, they clapped the nurses, then they sacked them. All right. And then they rehired them after they mandated. Did the same thing over in the US when it came to the military personnel. You guys have just had your Veterans Day. Wondering how many of those felt really ticked off for standing up for their rights when it came to their bodily autonomy, and then all of a sudden being kicked out, demoted, and then thrown out of the armed forces just to be sort of like, what was it Trump was saying? We'll reimburse you and everything. Always the same, isn't it? The slow reveal afterwards. They become honest over a period of time. You know, it's always there, guys. Here we go. Mainstream media finally admits that COVID vaccines are killing and maiming millions, putting on the strain so much on our health services. And it's so much so that Dr. Vernon Coleman himself wrote that actually the way that this eco-warrior tree-hugging lie thing is all going on, you won't have doctors that will actually see their patients. They'll have these remote control or 5-minute talks, and you can't even have anything relating to that. You'll say, be assessed, you know, no personal care whatsoever. It's just all done so dismissingly. And now the hilarity of what's going on over here in the UK, trusting robots for healthcare and that provision, having a robot tell you to get up and do your exercise and go and get your walking stick and go walking around the block. Do you know what I mean? It's like, seriously? Or having AI as being an alternative form of telling us about that. But here you go, when you get Bill Gates buying off the entirety of the mainstream media for 390 million, and that's all he was busted for giving and, you know, sharing, you can buy off the whole narrative, right? Suppress all of these things, just promote this sort of like science when it comes to climate lie and the sort of like vaccine efficacy. These guys have got blood on their hands. They've got lives on their hands. People are being maimed and children are being psychologically scarred for being put on house arrest. And all of the tyrannies that we are so quick to forget, putting our hope and our trust in these individuals, like Americans turn around and make America great again. Really? As so many of you Americans are now having to sort of like feel the pinch financially and then having to rely on food banks because they take away benefits and all that kind of stuff, imposing all these, you know, digital tyrannies on you, putting boots on the ground, you know, stopping your ability to rise up and dissent in terms of what's coming, giving you that fear of consequence in advance of what they've got rolling out next. These guys aren't trustworthy. So you get the sort of like the hilarity of Donald Trump having a pop at our BBC. Yes, it's compromised. Yes, it's evil. You know, in their case, no news is good news. But it's just a case of, really, I'd be looking at your own backyard a little bit, mate, when it comes to CNN and Fox News and the hilarity of your mainstream media. But this is it, when they finally start to admit that actually, yes, how is this caring and loving by turning a blind eye? Massive COVID vaccine study links jabs to soaring heart attack rates. And you think, well, why are we coming on about this? Why are we doing this? You know why? All right, because this is my evangelism. Because people are going to hell without Jesus. It's as simple as that. They're not walking in relationship with the Lord Jesus. They're not calling on his name. And the wrath of God remains upon them. And they are going to be having a horrific end of life, dying in agony and in pain, just to then face our Holy Father to be turned away. Does that not give any one of us a sense of urgency and a bit of sobriety in how delicate this whole thing, how fleeting life is? And how those they're elected, well, not even elected, half of these guys, but are put in positions of authority upon us. This is what they do. They have a depopulation agenda. They want to follow the Club of Rome's nonsense when it comes to the limits of growth in its book, turning around and saying, oh, we're overpopulated. No, we're not. Every single soul on earth, if they all moved over to Alaska, could have an acre of land each. Every soul on earth. That's just Alaska. But they'll lie when it comes to their climate models. They'll lie when it comes to their math, and they'll make it up to serve their evil ambition. Scientists demands that the FDA suspends or withdraws mRNA COVID vaccines. Once it gets into your system, it's impossible to get that out. All sorts of damage that are being done. Please see what we've been reporting most recently in our community post when it comes to Synchron, Bill Gates and Jeff Bezos. Okay, and their injectables when it comes to sort of like microchips, on how infatuated they are with getting everybody set up to the Internet of Things and the body of Internet when it comes to the brain, computer interface. It's not a Neuralink, chip that's been stuck in your bread basket. It's none of that at all. It's an injectable so that they can know what's going on in under your skin, just like Yuval Noah Harari said. And people turn around and saying, oh, well, I don't go anywhere near the vaccines. All right, well, when was the last time you went out for a walk? Breathing in all of that smart dust, breathing in all that smog, breathing in all this invisible chemicals that they're putting in, not knowing whether they're being trustworthy and transparent when it comes to the ingredients, to the food products that you buy, things that you consume, eat and drink. Other pharmaceutical companies like talcum powder, like dental floss, that are also sabotaged as well, because they want to get you one way or the other. And they will have everybody on this particular grid. Okay, if we've got you on the jab, then we've got you. That's fine. But for those that didn't get that, they'll have to get you in different other ways. So they want to monitor and manage what it is that you buy, what it is that you go down to the shop and have. And they'll go and fly their low-flying aircrafts right over you and just dump everything on board to get it into your lungs like they've done with me, because I haven't gone anywhere near the vaccines. God bless George Foreman, who pushed the vaccines for Big Pharma, dies suddenly. And the next generation of inhaled COVID vaccine enters phase 2 clinical trials. The inhaled version, they've already had this for decades. It's what's in the Aerovax that they pump out over Canada, over the UK. It's not just there to blot out the sun. It's there to sterilize. It's there to maim. And this is when it gets really important and really sobering. And please understand why it is I'm angry. Anger is a healthy, normal reaction. Jesus was angry, and I'm trying not to sin in my anger. But these guys have got no problem poisoning you by death by lethal injection or any which way they can. And they don't care that you die in agony, that vital organs start failing one after a time. It would be more humane for them to line us up against a wall and shoot us, or to drop napalm on us, than to do it with this invisible weaponizing of absolutely everything that they can deceivingly, make up and throw at you. I care about people, and I care about your health, especially if you're a non-Christian, because you'll be, one minute you're maimed. You don't know how long you've got. I don't know how long it is I've got. But whilst I am here, whilst there is oxygen, nitrogen, carbon dioxide and water vapor in my lungs, added to the crap that they also, fused me with, I'm going to speak up and speak out, because people are still dying here, guys. Millions and millions every year. 17 million, and that's the only statistic that they're given, have died by people taking this vaccine, let alone everything else that they've staggered on a time delay component. So it's not all too suspicious. Aggravating existing conditions, or going after vital organs, these mRNA and self-assembly nanotechnologies, then having all this 5G and the weaponizing of all the technology against you at night. Can't tell you the times that I'm sleeping at night and I'm getting real heart palpitations. I walk 7 or 8 miles every single day. I don't take any drugs. I don't smoke, not at all. And I rarely have a drink. Okay. And I'm pretty healthy, pretty fit for my age. My blood pressure's all good, but I'll have these heart palpitations. I'll have some of those things. And it's not because of anything. It's because of all of this technology that I'm surrounded by. You've got some dude there just turning up some dial. What's really interesting here, we're talking about the law enforcement, or the hilarity of the fact that they call themselves that. Caught on camera. Police Scotland boss ordered officers to ignore COVID vaccine crime reports. COVID pandemic criminals have been given free rein in Scotland, according to a shocking video in which a police officer reveals that the nation's top cop explicitly ordered officers to ignore all reports of vaccine-related crimes. And here's the hypocrisy. It's almost like this is a prime example of when a memo, all right, between the beast system gets sort of like pulled up and amended. Here it is. You remember this? Trump pulls funding from schools that mandate COVID vaccines, no more forced shots. What happened? Like literally less than a week later, you get the B Systems rep in Bill Gates being invited over to the White House and sitting down with that man. And then all of a sudden, that is rescinded. We've got an update on that. And then it's sort of like, we're going to come after all these guys. And he wants to come up with what, Stargate and the billions of pounds for this mRNA, turning around and saying we've got arrest warrants for Bill Gates and what, that boy could walk into the White House. Really? You can't ground that man's plane, Germany. You can't ground that man's plane, Australia and Japan, other nations that have got an international arrest warrant. And you're telling me that you can't pull that guy up? Bill Gates is just one part of the puzzle. There are many other little parts. I'd be starting with the likes of Anthony Fauci over here in the UK, you know, Hancock. Moderna fined for luring children into COVID vaccine trials with teddy bears without parental consent. And here we said it earlier, didn't we? Trump reinstates troops discharged over COVID vaccine mandates, grants full back pay. So backpedaling, isn't it? It's all about the revelation of the method and the slow reveal. Here we go. Whistleblower says Pfizer threatened to kill her family if she exposes the dangers of mRNA. Please pray for me and my two daughters. These guys get thrown into jail and are targeted for assassination, and they don't say half as much as what I say. So now you understand, every single day I'm making that prayer in the morning. Lord Jesus, please forgive me of all of my sins, my every thought, my every word, and my every deed, known and unknown. All right, I am saved by grace, but when I goof up and I mess up, I apologize to God because I'm in relationship with him, and he is faithful and just to forgive me of my sins. Into your hands I commit my spirit. Into your hands I commit my life and my death, my every step and my every breath into your hands. And that's it. Because we do not know, guys. And I'm saying to you that we're being here personally, from what I'm seeing, for a little bit longer. How long is it going to be? Until these guys get a little bit more emboldened. When you get the WEF turning around and saying, we're getting to the enforcement stage now, aren't they just? With everything being deployed all over. And then we're getting to the sort of stage, we'll just kill you all off. Pfizer's birth control jab linked to brain tumors. And this is what is absolutely mortifying, the hypocrisy of these leaders. Pfizer strikes a $70 billion deal with Trump to lower drug prices. The Trump administration has announced a deal that will allow patients to buy prescription drugs at a discounted price via a new website operated by the federal government. Really? Really? Pfizer knew mRNA nanoparticles attack baby boys' testes, damaging masculinity and fertility for generations. Pfizer documents confirm injuries match human DNA found in its vaccines. Women suffered brain clot after first Pfizer dose, then a heart clot after the second. Pfizer's experimental Hendra mRNA vaccine sparked wave of sudden agonizing horse deaths. And look what they're doing with Bavaria as well when it comes to cows. Farmers also seeing that. You don't think that these guys are trying to weaponize that, put it over into spraying a little bit very subtly so you get a bit of an immunity, starts to aggravate so people get staggered when they end up being killed. Think I'm joking? Peer-reviewed study. Pfizer's boosters tied to never before seen right ventricular thrombosis in healthy teens. And here you go. We're talking about the weaponizing of this with the food. Pfizer quietly slipping in GMO enzyme into 90% of American cheese. And it's nowhere on the label. DOJ dropped Pfizer bribery investigation days after ex-Pfizer lawyer Pam Bondi became AG. Pfizer scientist confesses COVID vaccine testing was sabotaged. Hundreds of women sue Pfizer over birth control jab linked to brain tumors. Big Pharma will collapse. Pfizer's executive complains RFK Jr.'s vaccine autism report will open legal floodgates. Ain't nothing happening. Don't believe the hype. Hundreds of women suing Pfizer for covering up brain tumor risk in contraceptive shots. Pfizer insider admits mRNA death toll was covered up. MEPs, members of the European Parliament, demand political consequences following Pfizer-Gate verdict. EU Commissioner, liar, Ursula von der Leyen was delivered a humiliating blow by the European Court of Justice. The court ruled that she did break transparency laws and annulled her decision to withhold her emails. Pfizergate, as it's called, court rules on von der Leyen's secret COVID vaccine deal messages. And this is the monster who wants to turn around and says, yes, here's £1 billion from the EU. Please go and vaccinate 500 million children. The Nazi that she is. I'm not in any way promoting sort of like, Nazi Germany, but at least Hitler had the, whatever he had going on for him, that he was just targeting a particular people group. These guys want every single nation, every single gender, every person, every single age across all of the world, not just segregated to the Jewish people or to those that were political dissenters or the ethnic minorities. These guys want to kill and maim absolutely flipping everybody. And we've been saying it, guys. In Nazi Germany, the Germans actually surrendered, but the Nazi party never, ever, ever surrendered. They got jobs in the EU, they got jobs in NASA, and they got jobs in the pharmaceutical companies. Florida study finds Pfizer mRNA vaccines cause more death than Moderna. Oh, wow, isn't that a competition? Pfizer warns vax men not to have sex with women of childbearing age. Pfizer under fire after multiple states challenge the PrEP Act immunity shield. Protecting the evil, isn't it? All in it together. Revelation 17:13. All of one mind to give their power to the beast. Pfizer CEO scrambles to defend vaccine liability shield as mRNA-linked heart attacks cause car crashes. Now we're reading, aren't we, that, after all of the, Trump's sort of like, oh, yeah, we're going to be doing this with the deep state. Where's he going next? Where's he going this January? He's going to be going over to Davos, isn't he? Puckering up to his overlords. Same thing that happened over here when it comes to Adolf Starmer, when he's asked, all right, who do you prefer? Do you prefer Westminster or do you prefer Davos? And who do you think he came out and said? Well, that boy didn't even hesitate before he turned around and said Davos. Because it's a case of, yeah, you see, in the British public, we can't get these guys to be so fooled so easily. But when it comes to like Davos, there's so much power and clout. Do you know what I mean? Then we don't have these sort of like inept individuals, in the citizens that I'm there to represent, to be in our way and stop our mean, evil plans. Pfizer has a history of lying. Pfizer pays $250 million to bury the truth about deadly cancer-causing drugs. Isn't that just something there for us to just be sort of like absolutely mortified about? I could go on and on and on and on relating to those particular articles. We're already on 43 minutes. Guys, this is why we speak out against these evils, because this is what's really happening. People are dying and then not, going to the Lord's house in a sense, because they're not walking in a relationship with him. This is what's so sobering for so many of us. I care enough about people to say, no, please don't take these things. They're not good for you. Please do your research. Please, like's been done before this live even began. I gave you 10 videos or 11 videos for you to go and have a look at. Videos that have been made in advance of all of these sort of like, fact checkers, and all of these whistleblowers and all these scientists have been really brave, risking their lives to tell you about this. And there's some posts that I'm going to have after this live as well, where there's a whole picture of like loads and dozens of really brave doctors who were literally murdered for speaking up and speaking out. We're going to get into the article in a moment from Too Cool for School, Dr. Vernon Coleman. He has a lot to say, guys. This could be a bit of a long live. Hi, Sherry. Thank you for being here. Hi, Jonathan. Good to see you, mate. Hi, Bride of Christ. Bless you. Hi, Dano Man. Good morning. Listening in the background. I'm glad. Bless you, mate. Hi, Cher. Absolutely, Cher. Well done. Cher saying, yeah, good morning and God bless here. I gave up on man. Jesus is my only hope. Exactly that. And that's where I'm at. I would rather sort of like literally be curled in agony, dying, than allow these guys to organ or harvest my organs, you know, to euthanize me against my consent, to give me a slow and agonizing death. I'd rather sort of like make myself square with the Lord and see myself out. I really would, than entrust myself into these individuals' care. This is why we speak out against it, because these guys are still making deals, still building factories. They are still going to be deceiving people when it comes to the mark of the beast, these caricatures, these tech giants, these, pharmaceutical overlords. They're all going to be in on it. I very much suspect that these mark of the beasts that they've got sat somewhere gathering dust will not only change DNA completely, but it will also have some form of a kill switch where they'll be able to release some cyanide capsule into your bloodstream, and it will change your DNA. These things do. But it's not the mark of the beast as of yet, because we haven't had, in Revelation 14, 9-11, an angel of the Lord flying over. That's how the Lord has to sort of like intervene. Can't use a man or a woman or a scientist or an expert in this matter. He's got to show and reveal one of his own angels to tell everybody about the consequences of taking the mark of the beast. If you take the mark of the beast, or you bow down to it, the wrath of God will be poured out to you in full measure. There will be adverse reactions in the form of sores and boils, and you will be permanently excluded from the kingdom of God. It's really important that we put our hope and our faith in Jesus Christ. We walk in relationship with him. He has given us a great immunity system. He's given us everything that we need. We don't need pharmaceutical intervention. Hi, Radioactive. Yeah, broken worlds. So I'm telling you, I've been struggling with it as well. I'm sure some of you have as well, guys. It's not easy seeing this darkness. It is like literally wading through traumatic waters daily with the darkness that is around. It has a knock-on effect to you. And that's just our ministry, let alone our personal lives. It is broken, and only the Lord Jesus can fix it. How we long and we ache to be in his house, underneath his roof, with his way, and how beautiful and magnificent it will be for the millennium reign when he is King of Kings and Lord of Lords, and just ruling with a rod of iron, and we get to do that with him. What a joy and a privilege. And how dark. And this is part of it now, guys, which is why I'm sensing that we're not out of it in just that sort of like way just yet. It's because the Lord wants to show a lot more evil, because it's going to convert a lot more people to him. People are going to be seeing that darkness and thinking, well, hang on a second, if there's this darkness, it's got to be Jesus and the light. And that's what I think he's really doing. But it is so broken. It's so needy. It goes putting its hope and its trust in these individuals who lie. Once they've lied. You can't come back from that. You can't remake or repair trust. It's irreparable when those lines are really, truly crossed. So that's our hope, is that people won't be putting their hope and their faith and their trust in these tech giants like the Elon Musks. Yeah. When it comes to his Neuralink, when it comes to his humanoid robots that no doubt will be chasing, and killing all of the tribulation saints. When it comes to Bill Gates and the Melinda Gates Foundation, and Bill Gates and Jeff Bezos, and that whole monstrosity when it comes to his brain computer interface chips in sync-on form. Now you've got Sam Altman also doing that, engineering babies. Now you've got him with this iris technology and this iris scan, and coming up with Neuralink rivals. Then you've got Jeff Bezos, doing the same thing now with, having his entire workforce being replaced by robots and AI, and that'll be the same everywhere. having these guys decide our fate. Do not trust these Peter Thiels and Palantir and Gotham and his technology. Do not trust that guy who invests in immortality. These guys are, you know, for the most part, really, they've got really sick perversions, or they're homosexual, or they're homosexual. They don't care for the family unit at all. They don't have your interests at heart. They want to spy and they want to track and they want to control you. This is what they're doing, guys. And I'm hoping and praying that maybe long after I'm gone or this whole platform's gone and these guys are left to it, that some of these things might come in. Hey, I don't think I want to trust that guy. I don't trust that Palantir dude. I don't trust whatever he's selling, Zuckerberg or Musk or Gates or Altman or Bezos or whoever is the new kid on the block at the time. Nah, man, you've got a little bit of Fauci in you, son. You've got a little bit of Mark Hancock. You've got a little bit of that Gates vibe going on. Nah, man, I'm not going to take that mark of the beast. Who knows whom that might save? It is a broken world, and only Jesus Christ can fix it. Yeah, we need the Lord. We do. Bride of Christ, we're almost home. Come quickly, Lord Jesus. Amen. Maranatha. Last days discerning mum. Hello, bless you. Christ is King. He is Lord of all. Oh, how wonderful, how marvelous, and my song shall ever be. Oh, come on there now. Isn't that going to be like so awesome? When we are just done with this, I am going to be flipping off this earth as I go up. I'm telling you, I will be saying yippee-ki-yay, and that's all I'm going to say. I am telling you right now, I'm going to be done with it, and I'm going to be just like, I'm standing in the presence of the Nazarene. I'm in my Father's house, and I can't wait to see him. Can't wait to hear. Can't wait to have a hug. I'm not looking forward to my end of life appraisal, but that's when grace comes in. So I might get through that. But yeah, just absolutely the love that we've got for the Lord, wanting to be in His arms, in His fellowship, because it's just perfect His way. He is the way, the truth, and the life. These guys want to deal in death, deceit, and darkness and destroy everything. Just so manipulative, so wicked, so perverse and dark. That's what they want to serve. They want to be on the losing side. Okay. Well done. I am the only one in my office at work who did not take it. I'm the only one in my family that didn't take it, despite their real nastiness. And that's what's really hard. It's like you need your family to be backing you up, saying, yeah, man, I'm with you. You know, that's why I was upset with my sister when I went and saw them, because it's like, it's not about that. It's I'm behind you with your jobs. All right, I'm behind you with everything you do. I'll babysit for Britain, your friends' kids, and everything. When I go up, I'm like Uncle Dan does all. I bend over backwards for my family because I love them. It's like all I'm asking you to do is just listen to what I've got to say, because I love you and I don't want you being harmed by that vaccine. I don't want you having this, and I don't want that for you. Be careful of these particular things. I love you enough, and for them to be so dismissive. It's not just what I'm saying that they're dismissing me as well. You know, I'm not saying to them, well, I really think, sister, as an immigration judge, you need to be sort of like, throwing all of these liars out, because they're not really here because they're being persecuted. They just want to set up shop here and have Sharia law. You need to do a better job, sweetheart, of your job, because far too many of them are getting in from the dinghy. I'm not like that with her. I don't say nothing like that to her. I love her and I bless her. Don't turn around to my brother-in-law who was training to be a Church of England minister and say to him, mate, you really need to get out of that cesspool. So no, okay, I know. I think it'd be really good. I think it's what it really needs. It needs someone like you there. Really needs your love for the Lord and how you see things. You bring a lot with you. That's how I am with them. But none of them can be like that, because there is this cognitive dissonance that's been, literally poisoned in their brain, the brainwashing, as we were speaking about. So good for you for being the only one that didn't take that. And no doubt the Father God was just like, yes, yes. When it came to us, and think what He does now when people are still bending over to this beast system. He's like, oh man, how much more evidence I've got to show you lot? I sent so much evidence to my family about the vaccines, and they still took it. I felt so blessed that they even indulged me. It was like that. It was like, come on, really? We are pure bloods, absolutely. Yeah, my heart does break as well, Cher, for those that ended up taking it. They were forced to take it. They were coerced and manipulated. The deviance, the marketing complex, the marketing, sort of like plan from the B system was, pretty thorough, wasn't it? Every which way you could. I remember getting text messages galore off my doctor, off the school, off the government, seeing it everywhere around, and I was just like, no, do one. I would rather take a bullet. I would rather take a bullet than roll up my sleeves. Absolutely. And I'm so sad for those guys that were so stupid and they were so manipulative and so cruel. They forgot all of the things that they took away from them. And now look, their health is just falling apart now. I'm sat there when I go up to my family and I'm hanging out with my sister and my brother and my mum and dad, whatever. And they're sat there with snotty ass colds in the middle of the summer. I'm sat there thinking, your immune system is destroyed, bruv. Look at me. Didn't take none of that crap. And I've been around you all week and not a sniff on me. What's that? What does that tell you? Could I have been onto something? That's what's really hard for us. They've been really rude to us. Japan had the courage and had the servitude to apologize to its citizens after it discovered that they'd been duped. That's why the Japanese prime minister was assassinated, because he returned all of these nasty mRNA vaccines and said, no, thank you. I am not giving that to my people. He loved them enough. Do our politicians, do our personalities, do our sort of like media and all of our organizations, clubs and societies, etc. I will never watch it. I'll never watch another Formula One Grand Prix ever again. I have boycotted it because these Muppets were the ones that mandated for themselves the vaccine, and then were forcibly using their popularity to coerce millions of people to have that, and millions did. I will never watch what they've got to say. No matter how much I used to love that, I used to really look forward to sitting down on Sunday or whatever, seeing the highlights, seeing the qualifiers, the practices, everything, And as a Brit, we had a few sort of like interesting people to be looking out for. I thought just looking out for that for the last couple of decades of life, really. Not anymore. When you cross over that line, you're done, you're gone, out of there. We need to be doing this with these people, being remembrant of what it is that they said, that they coerced, and how they made you feel. Forgive them, but don't go listening to them anymore, ever again, and refuse whatever they force upon you next. Yeah, our show is saying here, I have a brother that took it just because his wife had to take it because of her work. It's just a manipulation of that. Hi, Christy. Bless you. I'm a nurse and didn't take or give it. God bless you. Thank you. Can I just say thank you on our behalf for being a moral and ethical practitioner, for not being a hypocrite, for not being two-faced, for being loving and kind and generous, and forgive me, Lord, but actually giving a shit about people. You put your life where your mouth was, and I respect that, and I respect you as a professional practitioner. I'm a nurse and didn't take it, nor did I give it. The dilemmas that these practitioners also had to go through as well. But some of them passed the test, and you did, and we applaud you here. I'd rather leave this world than take it or give it. Same here. Same here. If that was a choice, I'd rather have a Glock, if they had that in one hand, and I'd be like, I'll have the bullet, please, mate. In fact, you know what I mean? Empty the whole clip out of me. I don't care. In fact, I'll even point to where it hurts the most. Hey, if I'm still standing, I'll even reload to you, mate. And I won't hold it against you. I'm taking none of that there now. Not at all. Don't trust these people. Don't trust them at all. Bless you, Christy. Yeah, absolutely. Last day discerning month. Unless those days were shortened, no flesh would be saved. Jesus is coming soon. And this is what we've been saying on our channel here. It's a case of this is how it all is, guys. All right. This is how it all is there now. It's not just a case of just, limiting the tribulation as being 7 years. It could be 10, it could be 12, it could be 15. No. It's a case of, now that's just it. We're capping it at 7. But I also think it is for the sake of the elect that it's shortened, that we don't carry on for the next 50 to 60 years. Because there will be no flesh alive should these depopulation maniacs get their way. Yeah, Jesus is coming soon. You know why I'm about it, man, but we're not going there. Bless you. Absolutely. People show some love to Christy for that. That's crazy good. Oh, well done. Thank you. I got a religious exemption this time. I'm watching people suffer, though, that wouldn't listen and took it. And that's heartbreaking as well, isn't it? But this is also the thing as well, where the church also failed, didn't give off these religious exemptions, shut their doors, didn't they? Bent over and puckered up for the beast system there. Yes, sir, massa. Well, we've been saying about the fact that this is what the church has been doing. Might not be bending down to the beast at the moment, the Antichrist, but it's definitely bowing down to its system already. Churches shutting up shop. No. Hundreds and hundreds of years ago, when there was other sort of like pandemics and other conditions, they weren't. They begin dying with them, live amongst them, get a martyr's crown for going down with the ship as such. That's what it was, being Jesus to those guys, praying for them, offering them hospitality, offering them warmth and food and blankets and social human interactions that we all need. Not depriving them of that and reinforcing it and shutting up the locks. Crikey, not at all. And then not giving religious exemptions. No, I believe blah, 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 blah. This person doesn't need to have that. I had a sort of like an exemption thing, for me and my daughter, because we've both got, asthma. All right. So I had that, and people didn't give a hoot whether or not I had that or not. Put your mask on. I'm not putting my mask on at all. Tough. Not having it. But it's just how interesting, isn't it? But well done for getting that exemption. And the heartbreak as well is seeing other people that decided to take that. It's like, it really was an IQ test, really, wasn't it? Yeah. Share saying, truthfully, I'm sure we'll all have a touch between the chemtrails, water, GMO, pray over everything. Absolutely. They'll get us any which way they can. They'll get us any which way that they can. And that's the whole point. It's like, Lord, not with my consent. Not with my consent. I didn't turn around and say, yeah, knock yourself out, son. I did not. And when the whole country was locked down and they were saying you can't go and see your children or whatever, I was living in the county over, and I was the only one driving on the motorway all the way from Cornwall to Devon and back, the only one on the road. And I didn't care, and I was ready. Police were going to be pulling me over. It was like, no. And I got to my girls up in the village. Yeah, I got up to them and I was like, girls, remember this, that when the whole world was crazily locked down, your dada, he got here and he was here for you. So it don't matter whatever's going to happen, I'll always be there for you. Didn't bend over. I wasn't a sheeple, but they'll get you one way or the other. But not all of us have to comply. Sometimes we just have to say, no, thank you. Dan Man said, I'm 20 minutes behind the live feed now. Okay, I firmly agree. You try to warn people of this and everything else goes on. It's as clear as day and then just don't want to know. If we've been doing this, my brother, for this is why we've got 1,500 views. We're shadow banned, we're blacklisted, we've got AI algorithms against us, people running human interference. They steal massive blocks of our life and just edit it out on their own volition. They steal our views. And they suppress us, but that's not the point, because my holy Bible turns around as a watchman. I am charged with reporting what I see. That is it. We have fulfilled our remit. But there's another part in Ezekiel, which is Ezekiel 2, that turns around and says, "Speak." Whether they listen or they don't listen, that ain't your problem. There now, you ain't got nothing to worry about. You just make sure that you've done your job, that you speak out against that. And if they choose to do that, that's fine. If nobody wants to listen to you, that's also fine. And we've been doing that from the word get-go. We are still doing that. Even when we had, at one point, 12,000 subscribers and channel family members, we still carried on. We didn't change that or think, oh, great, my mission in life is to get to the Beamer seat with as many subscribers and views as I can. Not at all. I want to get to the Beamer seat knowing that I left everything on the field for my God and my King. And if we took the hits and we took the strikes and everything, then great. I love Jesus enough. I love his people enough to go through all of that. But you can only warn them, show them the evidence. People don't have to listen to anything I've got to say. Go and look at those 11 videos that are in the top chat that I put in before this live began and see for yourself. The science, the evidence is beyond contestation, and it's overwhelming. What was so heartbreaking was that poor young woman over here in the UK, all right? And this poor old girl, she didn't have any information. She went in completely unprepared, and the judge was like, no, I'm going to vaccinate your baby without your consent, because I don't really see that there's much harm to be done pertaining to these vaccines personally. Could you imagine if she knew about us, of how much information I could have sent that girl? I could have sent her 100,000 million trillion PhD papers of research, of evidence, that she could have just sat there and just gone, here you go. And the judge would have turned around and gone, huh, how about that? Now I've got an ethical and moral dilemma. Do I actually stand up against these pharmaceutical companies and do that? That's why I've got a problem with the police. They're not going over to the doctor's surgeries. They're not looking up at the planes, taking down numbers of these aircrafts. They're not taking soil samples. They're not taking random samples out of the food source and putting them under a microscope and putting them for, you know, hazards and testings of everything of that sort, are they? No, not at all. Cowards. So yeah, we can only do so much, and we can only speak so much about that. And if that's the point of an Ezekiel Watchman, have I exhausted everything possible that I can? Have I spoken out about it? It's my prayer daily, Lord, what more is it that I need to speak about? And I will set you guys a challenge. Please go over to our Rumble channel. We've been back on YouTube for 3 months. Please see videos and tell me of something going on in the world that we have ignored. I pose that challenge because I can't think of it. And every day I'm asking, Lord, what do you want us to say? And this is what he wants us to say. This is what he wants us to speak about. So each one does their job. Yeah, exactly. Or take the time and effort to find the truth. No, they don't. They want to be told what to do. They want to be controlled. Actually, people do like to be controlled. People do like to be sort of like bossed about. I'm for the Myers-Briggs, I'm an INFP, and when it comes to the anagram, all right, which is 10 times better, all right, when it comes to the anagram, I'm a type 8. You just do not control type 8s like me. They just kick off about it. And they're deliberately, you know, sort of like, you know, in your face. That's what a watchman needs to be, in your face. They're not meant to be popular, not meant to be liked. They're meant to tell you what's going on and wake your ass up. Yeah, absolutely. We need to pray and fight through prayer and their attacks. Absolutely. No weapon formed against you. We have to be remembrant of that. So I'm just catching up with your message. It's really important that you guys I get to hear what you guys are saying. It's your experience. That's what I love about it. We've got some great team members here that keep us safe so that we can have these discussions. You guys have been really great conversations. Thank you. Here we go. Yeah, nobody wanted to hear. All told me I was stupid and should know better. And that's it. They're, you know, it's like that moment, isn't it? It's just, I remember it. I think it was the Jesus movie where you've got sort of like, I think it was Robert Palmer one, and you've got Mary there screaming out for Jesus, and everyone else is screaming out for Barabbas, and someone just comes along and slaps her in the face. And I'm just remembered of that, of what it truly meant just to sort of like stand up for the Lord, because we'll get our stripes, we'll be slapped, we'll be socially excluded, we'll be alienated from our peers and marginalized, mocked and scoffed and talked about behind our back. We'll miss out on promotions or opportunities or things like that. But I can go to bed at night and, you know, have a clean conscience. Yeah. Yeah. Arne Burkhardt. Yeah. A German pathologist did it. Yeah. Some research, some studies. Last day's mum saying, yeah, my best friend got the shot, and as soon as available, She was upset because her last one was delayed. Unfortunately, now she is no longer on this side of heaven. Bless her. And this is what this is what it does come down to, isn't it? People are taking these vaccines or having it being weaponized against them, and people are literally going to hell. I'm not an evangelist. I'm not a pastor. I am not a teacher. I am a warrior on a wall. That's it. But it's heartbreaking when you think that there are those that are separated from, not only their loved ones, but separated from the love of the Lord forever, because they put their hope and their faith in individuals. And this is the blessing of time that we've got. Saying Christy looked at me like I was nuts, still do. Why take an experimental unknown? Exactly. This is the point where you end up sort of like challenging your own cognition, don't you? And you're thinking, actually, am I a bit... Do you know what I mean? With that amount of crazy around you. Dan, a man saying, yeah, I agree with the Guidestone thing that happened too. I see it as a starting gun for the whole thing we're seeing now. Great comment, buddy. Absolutely agree with that. And that was it. It was like mission accomplished, really, wasn't it? Mission accomplished. Sterilize everybody. That's it. And this is why it does come down to, the fact that, there can't be that much longer left. There isn't decades and decades. I think there's a decade maximum, personally. But otherwise, there'd be nothing on no one left. Look at the fall in fertility rates. Look at the global genocide. Birth rates in every single country is down. You wait until you start seeing empty preschools, primary schools, secondary schools. Then people will start noticing. Because he's saying, both my parents took it and my dad tried to pay me to take it. Bless. I only have one son that didn't take it. Oh, that's hard as well, isn't it? As parents, and I was sort of like refereeing, wide elbowed with my school. I told them to go to hell. Literally did. He's trying to send me a COVID vaccine, but I'd had enough. It was just like one of those days where everything with my phone was just like going off, and I didn't want it. I felt like, just respect my decision. If I wanted it, I'd be there. I'd have it. I'm not. Take the hint. Okay. So I got really wound up, and I was quite impressed that I turned around to my children's school and just said, go to hell, because I could have said everything there now, and I didn't. But it was just a case of, please make sure that my child, my daughters, aren't excluded, that they're not made to feel bad for not taking it. Yeah, don't give other people this reward factor like a sticker or some sweet or some bloody donut, and not give one to my child. Don't alienate them because of that. But just do not put that into my child at all. And that was my worst fear. What if they did? If they make that decision, then that's on them. They've had their warning. They've had that's fine. But what if someone did that against my consent with my two daughters? I'm sorry. I'd be in jail right now. I would be in jail right now. And they would not be in a good, healthy place either. Let's just move on. Hi, Kevin. Bless you. Not much time for me to get ready for today, so I want to say hi and thank you. God bless you all. Bless you, mate. Thank you for being here. Yeah, and this is you guys are sharing your experiences of that. Well done for that. And let me just say as well, just out of complete genuine love, outside of what we've what's going on. Okay, God bless you if you took it. Can I just say, God bless you. There is no condemnation here if you did. All right, I'm not going to have that as like, this is like some elite group. No, there's people here that were prepared to sacrifice, prepared to take the hits, prepared to say no. And there were some that didn't have that. God knows your situation. He knows your circumstance. There is no judgment here. You are loved, you are welcome, and you are accepted here if you did. Okay, that's important also to say. You might not want to go there ever again. Please, please, please. See those videos that I put into the top chat. All right. Bless you. Yeah, absolutely. Share saying, like many, I did my research when they prohibited hydroxychloroquine that I had on for years for RA, were given to pregnant women in warming. My spirit screams, thank you, Father. Yeah, God warns us. Thank you. So many are blind as well. Yeah. Christy's saying here, this is a really important one here. Look, no, I'll protect you. That was good enough for me. That's it. Trusting in God's, immune system that He's given to us. I'm saying, no, I'm not going to have that. I'm going to look after you. It's exactly the same thing that I've been saying as well. What He pulled me up on very lovingly, very gently, when I was sort of like being followed and positive ideas to photograph. I was photographed this morning on my walk. All right. And I'm just like, really? You're down by a river that is so beautiful and you just want to take pictures of me. All right, fair enough. I look good today. But it was just like, before, and there's other guys like walking up to me really, really fast with things in their hands in their pockets, thinking, I don't know if this dude's got a knife or whatever. So I had a knife in my pocket as well, already opened up. And if this guy was going to start something, then he better be faster than me. I'm telling you. And then I had like a body cam on me as well. And then God said, Dan, what are you doing, mate? So you're looking to yourself to protect yourself, are you? Are you really? You're protecting in your skill and your speed and all of that kind of stuff. You are not looking to me for your protection, are you, at all? Put it away. Look to me. I will protect you. You are underneath the shadow of my wing. And I put it down, and I haven't ever gone out on another walk again. I feel like a sitting duck, but that's what we're supposed to be like, isn't it? For the Lord's sake. For His sake, we are considered to be slaughtered every single day. No, I'll protect you. Amen. That was enough for me too, sis. I put mine down. Can let you finish your conversation, guys. That's really great. Thank you so much for being a part of our live. Right, let's go over. Come on then now. Let's go over exposenews.com. All right, our Dr. Vernon Coleman. All right, our granddaddy Coleman. Can we just say that right now? God bless this man. I ain't got nothing but love for this. Seriously, I'd love to have like a pint with him, or be stuck in an elevator with this dude. All right, this is a genuine. All right, unlike Gates, unlike Tedros Ghebreyesus, the terrorist that he is. All right, he is a licensed medical doctor. So I'm going to listen to what he's got to say. And we are going to do so with a big smile on our face as well, because he is just too cool for school. Okay, so he gives his opinion here then now. Why have so few doctors dared to tell the truth about COVID and its vaccines? On Tuesday, the Daily Mail published an article about the thousands of cases of transverse myelitis, a rare neurological condition causing spinal cord inflammation post-COVID vaccination. My apologies to my nursing sisters. I am so badly dyslexic. It is unbelievable. So I'm going to butcher all of these medical terms for you. But I'll make it a lot more fun, I tell you. Here we go then now. Oh, I also did to people's names as well, especially with this guy. The article featured the case of an American orthopedic surgeon, Dr. Joel Woolscock. Couldn't say that after a few beers, good, yeah. Who developed TM and became paralyzed within days of receiving one dose of the Moderna vaccine in December 2020. With such cases serving as a canary in the coal mine, how could it be that doctors encourage their patients to get vaccinated so enthusiastically? In a book published earlier this year, Dr. Vernon Coleman suggests that many doctors remained silent about the truth regarding the vaccines, as they were being well paid to inject people, or they were too terrified to speak out against the medical establishment. Is this why so many doctors didn't dare tell you the truth about COVID, the cruel persecution of the innocent? Just before we get into this, right? I thought it was really funny. He didn't think it was funny, but he didn't have a sense of humor like I did, right? I go to the doctor once because I had something going on with my back or whatever. And I went in and I went in to see what he said. And he was like dressed up in like this hazmat suit. And he had he had like a face mask on. Then he had like a shield visor. Then he had like some surgical cap thing going on. Then he was dressed in this massive onesie, white whatever. Then on top of that, he had like a white, like an apron on his feet. he also had like, you know, some sort of like dodgy white slipper things. Like it's almost like he just come out of some crime lab. Do you know what I mean? Do you know? And he just stood there and opened the door to me and was like, "Hi, Mr. Trendell." And I just went, "Really, really?" And his face was like deadpan, man. And I just thought, that was it. I didn't really need anything that that guy was offering. I was like, "Are you kidding me right now? Seriously?" That was my doctor, and I've not been back since. Here we go. By Dr. Vernon Coleman. If you are sitting comfortably, I'm going to butcher all of these medical terms for you. There is much bewilderment among intelligent doctors and scientists as to why so many doctors kept quiet about the lies being told when the COVID-19 hoax and the fake pandemic unfolded. So why did so many doctors keep quiet about the COVID-19 vaccine and continue to prescribe a product which has been accurately described as the most dangerous and damaging single pharmaceutical product ever marketed? The COVID-19 jab did not do what the establishment promised it would do. And at the same time, it caused countless thousands of deaths and serious injuries among the patients who were injected. There are two explanations for the fact that so many doctors ignored the evidence and did what they were told to do by dishonest advisors within the medical establishment and bought and paid for journalists and celebrities. The first let's rewind that one. Do it again. The first explanation is that all over the world, doctors were extraordinarily well paid to give the COVID-19 jabs. Hospitals were given bribes labeled as bonuses, which were dependent upon the number of patients they injected. Doctors were brought off and dissuaded from asking too many questions by being paid well over the normal fees for giving vaccinations. Those doctors will, in due course, appear in court where they will be unable to mount any type of defense. To say that they behaved unprofessionally and greedily is a massive understatement. The second explanation is that doctors were too terrified to speak out against the medical establishment because they saw what had happened to colleagues who dared to share their views with their colleagues and the general public, and who had had their licenses removed by the official licensing authorities, and in addition, being vilified by the media. The truth, so well hidden during the last 3 years, is that the medical establishment was, and it has been for decades, controlled by the pharmaceutical industry, and instead of looking at the facts, licensing authorities around the world merely did as they were told to do. Numerous doctors lost their licenses and their livelihoods because they dared to speak out and tell the truth. The majority of doctors, seeing what happened to those who spoke out, kept quiet and betrayed their patients, themselves, and their profession. Those gutless wimps should be ashamed. In the United Kingdom, doctors are licensed by the General Medical Council, an organization which, in theory at least, a charity, but which appears to have some of the worst qualities of Quango, a government department and an enforcer for the drug industry. Excuse me. I believe that drug companies control governments. They control the medical establishment. And it appears they also control the UK's medical licensing authority, the General Medical Council. 50 years ago, the General Medical Council was infamous for providing the Sunday papers with a regular diet of scandal and sleaze. The General Medical Council specialized in striking off doctors who had been found abusing drugs or having sex with their patients, or occasionally they would take aim at doctors who could be accused of advertising. I should mention at this point that in the 70s, I attracted the attentions of the GMC as a result of my writing a series of novels which I had written under a pen name. Responding to a complaint from a drug company, the GMC wrote to me and I was threatened with the removal of my name from the medical register. Since I was at the time an NHS GP with no private patients, and since the novels had been written under a pen name, which was a fairly well kept secret, if not, apparently, from the GMC, the case against me fell apart quite quickly. This did not, however, prevent the GMC from targeting me on many other occasions when they received complaints from drug companies. Which objected to my more academic books, such as The Medicine Man, published in 1975. You just got to be like, come on there now. Love you. Nothing but love you, baby. All right. In which I had exposed the closed links between the pharmaceutical industry and the medical establishment. This boy was doing this in 1975 there now. This is why we love this man. Over the years, I have been subjected to a constant stream of unsuccessful complaints. I love it. Unsuccessful complaints and lawsuits from drug companies. My problems seem to increase after my books start to appear in the Sunday Times bestseller lists and reach an ever wider readership. I just love this guy. More recently, the GMC has become infamous for its extraordinarily one-sided defense of the exaggerated COVID pandemic and the pointless but enormously dangerous COVID vaccine. When the fake pandemic was first promoted with enthusiasm in February and March 2020, I immediately described the COVID scare as a hoax. The figures available proved without any question that the danger of what was clearly being merely a rebranding of an annual flu had been massively exaggerated by people who had a bad track record at assessing the relevant figures. They don't do math too good. In the UK, the government's own official advisors agreed with me, dismissing the COVID-19 infection as being no more dangerous than the annual flu. Their expert advice appears to have been ignored in favor of advice from a mathematician. That's there. We'll keep it there. What did I say about words? A mathematician. All right, with a terrible track record. Yeah, don't want to trust that guy. I've been writing about drug companies and medical deceit since the 60s, and I can spot a medical fraud a mile away. Naturally, the conspirators behind the exaggerated risk, and I use word conspirators deliberately, did not like my description of the COVID scare as a hoax. A video I made with this title was seen by many millions within days. Have it. And I was quickly demonized and lied about in the media following it. The GMC couldn't take away my license because their own administrative rules meant that, as with many doctors, my retirement from active practice meant that I'd had to give up my license. But young doctors, those still in practice, were to feel the full wrath of the drug company controlled by the medical establishment. So, for example, consider the case of Dr. Mohammed Adil, who was a respected surgeon working in the NHS. He was one of the very few medical doctors who criticized the COVID fraud early on. Other doctors and some PhD scientists, such as Mike Yeadon, were welcomed when they joined us later on. When Dr. Adil criticized the government line on COVID, the GMC responded by taking away his license, meaning that he could no longer practice as a surgeon or as a doctor in any capacity. Today, Dr. Adil still doesn't have his license. The cost to him has been extraordinary, and we should not forget the cost to the NHS either. If we consider that in those 3 years, he could have performed 1,000 operations a year, not an unlikely number, then his banishment means that thousands of patients have been denied the operations that they actually needed. Dr. Adil is not alone. I know of several other doctors in the UK who have had their licenses removed for criticizing the absurd and indefensible COVID policy. When Dr. Adil appealed against the loss of his license, I wrote to the 3 judges on the Court of Appeal on Dr. Adil's behalf. Here is the letter I sent. Bless him. To Lord Justice Dingmans, Lord Justice Bean, Lord Justice Popplewell. Grandiose titles. How arrogant. From Dr. Vernon Coleman, MB, CHB, and DSC. On the 23rd of October, 2023. Dear sirs, I am a retired GP principal and one of many British doctors who are appalled by the GMC's cruel and inhuman treatment of Dr. Mohammed Adil. I should perhaps point out that I have never met Dr. Adil and that my distress at the way he has been treated was aroused by my concern that he has been treated unfairly and unreasonably by the General Medical Council. I would like to make the following points on Dr. Adil's behalf. First, the General Medical Council had significant investments in drug companies. And one of the companies in which the GMC had shares was one of the companies making the COVID-19 vaccine. How can the GMC judge doctors' behavior in relation to COVID and COVID jabs when it has a vested interest in the financial success of vaccine manufacturers such as AstraZeneca? The GMC, which had money invested in vaccine manufacture, had a vested interest in protecting vaccine sales and should not thereby discipline doctors whose actions might have damaged the earning potential of any companies in which it has invested its own money. The GMC is punishing someone for criticizing a product in which it has a financial interest. Indeed, I would argue that the GMC has abandoned its role as a guardian of the public and become an enforcer for the pharmaceutical industry. Second, the GMC does not seem to have been consistent. Other doctors who spoke out about COVID and the COVID vaccine were not struck off the medical register. Third, patients have also suffered from Dr. Adil's inhuman punishment. If we consider that his last 3.5 years could have performed 1,000 operations a year, not an unlikely number, then his 3.5-year banishment means that 3,500 patients have been denied the operations they needed. Dr. Adil was not removed from the register for any professional incompetence. Fourth, Article 19 of the United Nations Charter states clearly that everyone has the right to freedom of opinion and expression. There is no codicil limiting the rights of doctors. The GMC's decision is in direct opposition to this fundamental human right. It has been argued that doctors have a special responsibility because of their position and training, but this strengthens rather than weakens the UN Charter. Doctors have a special responsibility to speak out when they believe that something is wrong. And of course, you can't have a little bit of free speech any more than a woman can be a bit pregnant. You either have free speech or you don't. To say that a doctor cannot criticize the medical establishment is as nonsensical as saying that any opposition party cannot criticize the government. The GMC is undeniably in breach of the UN Charter. Doctors are entitled to share their views with the public, and the public is entitled to decide whom it is that they end up believing. Fifth, the GMC has assumed that the government and the medical establishment must always be correct and beyond reproach and criticism. This is dangerous nonsense. One doesn't have to go very far back in history to find numerous examples of times when the government and the medical establishment have been completely wrong, and as a result, patients have suffered until doctors had the courage to stand up for the truth. When Dr. John Snow gave chloroform to Queen Victoria, there was an uproar in the medical establishment because it was felt that women should not be given anesthesia during childbirth. Electroconvulsive therapy, leukotomies, and the removal of vast lengths of the intestine were all approved by the medical establishment, but then later condemned. It was because of the medical establishment that tonsils were removed without good reason. No one knows how many children died as a result. A good deal of unnecessary heart surgeries have been performed on patients because of bad medical practices promoted by the medical establishment. It was because of bad medical practices condoned or encouraged by the medical establishment that millions of patients became hooked on barbiturates and then benzodiazepines. Butchered. Okay. And I wonder how many of those who have condemned Dr. Erdil know that widely used and previously approved vaccination programs have been condemned as worthless and as dangerous. History shows that the medical establishment has been wrong more often than it has been right. And if the GMC stops doctors criticizing the government and the medical establishment, known to be linked to the pharmaceutical company, then nothing will ever change for the better. If we go back a little further in medical history, we come across individuals such as Dr. Semmelweis, whose work on women lying in labour wards changed medical practice and saved thousands, if not millions, of lives. Dr. Semmelweis was, of course, viciously attacked by the medical establishment. The undeniable truth is that history shows that the medical establishment has always suppressed the truth and promoted profitable lies. I'm going to repeat that again there now. The undeniable truth is that history shows that the medical establishment has always suppressed the truth and promoted profitable lies. Nothing has changed. The medical establishment still promotes medical procedures which don't work, while suppressing essential but inconvenient truths. The GMC's fundamental mistake appears to me to have assumed that its loyalty should be to the medical establishment rather than that of the welfare patients. Sixth, the evidence now shows quite clearly that the medical establishment's official line on COVID-19 was completely false. Everything that the establishment has said and done has been provable, wrong, and dangerous. The General Medical Council and all those who support its decisions seemed to have assumed that the establishment was right when, in truth, it was wrong. If the GMCs had looked closely at the evidence, it would have known that the UK government's own scientific advisors decided back in March 2020 that COVID was not a major threat. They would have known that government statistics show that the number of people who died from COVID-19 was no greater than the number who died from flu every year, a disease which had mysteriously and, might I add, conveniently disappeared. Indeed, the number of deaths from what was clearly a rebranded flu was no greater in 2020 and 21 than it was in some previous years. Moreover, it is now clear that the absurd policies of lockdowns, social distancing, mask wearing were without any scientific foundation, and they were completely unnecessary and dangerous, and were in part responsible for the entirely predictable increase in deaths which marked 2022 and will continue for some years to come. The PCR tests was never intended to be used as it was, and has been proven beyond any doubt to be of no more value than a coin toss. It is clear that the closing down of schools and businesses was also entirely unnecessary and has done massive, long-lasting damage. Worse still, it is now abundantly clear and generally accepted by intelligent, well-informed doctors and scientists that the COVID-19 vaccine was never properly tested, was never fit for purpose, and is the most dangerous and deadly pharmaceutical product ever marketed, largely because of links with the pharmaceutical companies involved. The government and the medical establishment misled the public and the health professionals. And yet, despite all the evidence, Government officials and governments and the media have steadfastly refused to debate these issues in public, or indeed in private. In a free and progressive society, criticism of the establishment may be irritating, I get that, and inconvenient, but surely it should never be subject to censorship. Thank you. Yours sincerely, Dr. Vernon Coleman. The judges did not bother to reply or even acknowledge my letter. And Dr. Adil did not win his appeal. Dr. Adil is left with huge debts from the legal bills he incurred while fighting the authorities. Exactly the same thing has been happening around the world, where licensing authorities have ignored the scientific evidence and punished doctors who have dared to share the truth with the world, usually on social media. It is this unscientific bullying, and I'm going to say, because that all of you guys that sit behind the screen and mess with our ministry, you're bullies and you serve the father of lies. And the widespread publicity given to the consequences, which has contributed to the fact that thousands of doctors who shared their doubts and fears have been kept quiet, frightened that they too would lose their licenses and their livelihoods. A doctor without a license to practice is as useless as a sweep without his brushes or a taxi driver without a cab. On the other hand, it is extraordinary that the General Medical Council appears to have taken no action whatsoever against doctors who did not care about patients but allowed themselves to be bribed to vaccinate with an unnecessary and dangerous drug. Nor has it punished doctors who went on strike demanding an inflationary 35% pay rise and abandoned their patients, thereby breaking every moral, ethical, and professional commitment. The General Medical Council's decision to deny Dr. Adil his license was always unjustifiable. To say that a doctor cannot criticize the medical establishment is as nonsensical as saying that an opposition party politician cannot criticize the government. The licensing authorities, which have removed doctors' licenses for speaking out, are undeniably in breach of the UN Charter. How a lawyer or a judge can justify allowing any licensing body to deny an individual's right to protection from the UN Charter is, I confess, a mystery to me. Doctors are entitled to share their views with the public, and the public is entitled to decide who it is that they believe. It is worth noting, by the way, that right from the start, in early spring of 2020, the doctors supporting the government and drug companies steadfastly refused to debate in public, and the mainstream or corporate media took an entirely biased, unbalanced, one-sided line in reporting the fake pandemic. The BBC even stated that they would not interview anyone questioning the value of vaccination, whether they were right or whether they were wrong. I have frequently challenged vaccine supporters to a live national public debate. Come on then. None has had the confidence or the courage to accept the challenge. Second, the General Medical Council has assumed that the government and the medical establishment must always be correct and beyond reproach and criticism. Not so. This is absolutely dangerous and nonsense. One doesn't have to go very far back in history to find numerous examples of times when the government and the medical establishment have been completely wrong, and as a result, patients have suffered until doctors had the courage to stand up for the truth. When Dr. John Snow gave chloroform to Queen Victoria, there was an uproar in the medical establishment because it was felt that women shouldn't be given anesthesia during childbirth. Electroconvulsive therapy, leucotomies, and the removal of vast lengths of the intestine were all approved by the medical establishment, but then later condemned. It was because of the medical establishment itself that tonsils were removed without good reason. No one knows how many children died as a result. A good deal of unnecessary heart surgery has been performed on patients because of bad medical practices promoted by the medical establishment. It was because of bad medical practices condoned or encouraged by the medical establishment that millions of patients became hooked on barbiturates and then benzodiazepines, whatever. And I wonder how many of those who had condemned Dr. Adil know that widely used and previously approved vaccination programs have been condemned as worthless and as dangerous. History shows that the medical establishment has been wrong more often than it has been right. And if the General Medical Council stops doctors criticizing the government and the medical establishment, known to be linked with the pharmaceutical companies, then nothing will ever change for the better. If we go back a little further in medical history, we come across individuals such as Dr. Semmelweis, whose work on women lying in labor wards changed medical practice and saved thousands, if not millions, of lives. Dr. Semmelweis was, of course, viciously attacked by the medical establishment. There are many more examples in my book, Medical Heretics. The undeniable truth is that the history shows that the medical establishment has always suppressed the truth and promoted profitable lies. Nothing has changed. The medical establishment still promotes medical procedures which don't work while suppressing essential but inconvenient truths. Just having a bit of a repeat here with this, isn't he, really, a little bit. Finally, there is one rather shocking reason why the General Medical Council shouldn't have made any rulings about Dr. Adil or any other doctor who criticised the official line on COVID-19 and the COVID-19 vaccine. Remarkably, it seems to me that the General Medical Council has itself been behaving quite improperly. Its disciplinary actions must surely now come into question. The General Medical Council, in my view, one of two big enemies of patients in the UK, and the other is the British Medical Association, has invested nearly 1 million in fast food and drink firms, and worse still, has invested large amounts of money from doctors' fees into drug companies. And one of the companies in which it had shares was one of the companies making a COVID-19 vaccine. How can the General Medical Council judge doctors' behaviour in relation to COVID and COVID jabs when it has a vested interest in the financial success of vaccine manufacturers such as AstraZeneca? Voila. It seems to me that it cannot. I believe that any doctors who have lost their licenses for criticising the fake pandemic and the toxic COVID jabs should be reinstated immediately, since the General Medical Council is clearly contaminated itself. It could surely be argued that the General Medical Council, which has money invested in vaccine manufacture, has a vested interest in protecting vaccine making and should not therefore discipline doctors whose actions might damage the earning potential of any companies in which it has invested its money. My conclusion can only be that the General Medical Council is unfit for purpose and should be closed down immediately. It is not fit to hand out dog licenses and certainly not required to control the licensing of doctors. It has failed to do its job to protect the public, and it appears to me to have acted more in the interest of pharmaceutical industry than the interest of its patients. I believe that other licensing bodies around the world may, on investigation, be shown to have similar failings in their institutions. And I also too hope that they will be investigated. I edited a bit of that because he seemed to have just repeated a little bit in and around the letter he wrote to the GMC. But this was part of it as well, you know. Dr. Vernon Coleman suggests that many doctors remain silent and the truth regarding the vaccines, as they were being well paid to also inject people, or they were too terrified to speak out against the medical establishment. So they'll use a few people as examples so that the rest will follow in line. Doing the same thing with Vietnam, aren't they, when it comes to the digital ID? 86 million people having their bank accounts frozen because of non-compliance. Really great article coming out there, guys. it's really important that we have a little look-see at some of that. I'll put this article in the video. You won't be able to see it, but if you want to go over to the exposenews.com, you'll find it there. Why have so few doctors dared to tell the truth about COVID and its vaccines? Guys, hoping that you've been able to see our read all about it section. You can read all about it too, and our extra read all about it, where there's 30 sort of like articles there for you. In a moment, I'm going to put a thumbnail that I put together already and put that in on this video. Then there will be a follow-up supplementary 2 community posts, just supporting what it is that we've been speaking out against this. Guys, it is really important that we speak out these truths. We do not allow the enemy to have its say when it comes to, defining what is truth, what is false, what is ethical, what is unethical. We go by the holy word of God and our own consciences, do we not? Just want to read out some verses of scripture, if I may. For God so loved the world that he gave his only son, that whoever believes in him should not perish but have eternal life. John 3:16. Acts 4:12. And there is salvation in no one else, for there is no other name under heaven given among men by which we must be saved. Romans 10:13. For everyone who calls on the name of the Lord will be saved. John 3:36. Whoever believes in the Son has eternal life. Whoever does not obey the Son shall not see life, but the wrath of God remains on him. Some scripture there for us. Guys, I'd like to just thank you really for bearing with us. As you can see, guys, there was 10 or 11 videos that were put in this live chat. If you're watching this in a couple of hours, you might have to wait until the morning, all right, until you can see some of those that I've selected out for you. These are made. You've got doctors, practitioners, nurses, whistleblowers, truth tellers speaking out against the vaccine. These are the videos that I've made before, not talking like I've been doing today, but actually made and just put them all together, sync them out all there for you, hoping that really blesses you. Guys, thank you to our team as well, just for the sort of like time that I've had with you guys. Thank you for holding the fort, guys, and for the pleasure of all of your company. As many of you know, sort of like Friday that's it for us, and we'll be back on Sunday. We just take tomorrow off and just like chill out and veg and just don't do anything, but we'll be back on Sunday with more things. Look out for the 2 following posts that supplement this, and like we've been saying, we've answered the question, I think, have we not, when it comes to why have so few doctors dared to tell the truth about COVID and its vaccines. God bless each and every one of you, and we'll talk again soon. All right then now.